Game on, everybody! Time to shine once again. Undead versus Undead as we are heading into semifinal number 2 in this Ryzing Star Cup. Oh yeah, and all the way up to the top, hailing from Spain, Vortix. It's actually pretty sick. Vortix going up against Xlord here. Down to the bottom left, we have the German Undead player. And what exactly is this? Is this 2008 or what's going on here? It's already pretty impressive. It's kind of fun. It was already great to see people like Xlord, you know, come back into all of this and starting to play WarCraft 3 again. But now we have Vortix back in action. The only thing that we now need is the Moreno brothers with Lucy making also a reappearance in the game and rocking it. Normally I'm not the biggest fan of mirror matches, but I am totally game for this one. Absolutely awesome. So yeah, check it out. For the time being, actually, once again, the little caveat that we have some, well, mini lags every now and then, despite Blizzard's recent patch in Reforged. So once that the heroes are entering the game, you will see quick lags, so don't be surprised by it. If you watched a couple of the previous games, you're already aware of that. There's a Lich opening, actually. Okay, we're off to a bit of aggression. Lich against Death Knight opening. And let's see what Vortix actually can pull off here. Honestly, I'm hyped for this. This entire tournament is already super interesting, simply because we've seen Happy lose to Cash in the quarterfinals. So it's a really interesting setup that we have now in front of us, because this is going to be the first Ryzing Star Cup where Happy is not going to win the tournament. And the big question is still who takes it. And it was kind of funny, actually, because a lot of people immediately jumped in and said, like, oh my god, Foggy is going to take it now. Nobody can beat Foggy but Happy. And what happened next? Exactly. Lucy took down... Vortix took down Happy. Foggy. Damn. Oh, yeah. A lot of confusion right now. And as you can already see, it has an effect on me as well. But here we go. Lich is in. So is the Death Knight. Both of them immediately with the Rod of Necromancy. And, yep, up to the top. There's a quick elimination of that Acolyte. And the Death Knight immediately says, like, fuck that. I'm not going to go for the aggression. He was trying to go up to the top, and then he sees the Lich and he immediately says like, nope, not on my watch. So instead, it's time to creep a little bit. So with this, we're actually starting to head in. Xlord is already starting to take down the Renegade Wizard here on level 5, and obviously using the Lightning Shield that will cast upon him to its full extent. Gets a Circlet of Nobility for its first troubles. And we have on the other side the Ring of Protection for Raz Splinter Spine.
Forces are under attack.
Lich of Vortix. Yeah, it's actually pretty awesome. I mean, at this point, I'm just hyped that we are also seeing very different openings from the two players here. And immediately another Frost Nova to get the next item, Cloak of Shadows this time for Vortix. And in the main base, already the tech into the Halls of the Dead. And now to the bottom left, Xlord, of course, with the exact same play. Another Ziggurat is currently being built as the Death Knight, already on level 2. Is trying to get a bit of action in as well. Problem is that the Lich is already ahead when it comes to experience, so we are now having level 2.5 for Vortix. And in a mirror match, it actually matters quite a bit. So both of the players currently opening things up here with a couple of ghouls for the economy. Xlord, of course, with the Graveyard in play, now has also the chance to put a couple of things to the test. Graveyard is just now being built by Vortix, so it's a bit later on this. This is a best of 3 series. And both players are eager to make it into the grand final. I mean, there's a bit of money on the line for this one, besides those points to qualify for the big tournament, the big event, the playoffs. And Vortix in particular, I would assume, really wants to make sure that he accumulates as many points as he possibly can. Xlord already made it multiple times into the semifinals, so he is more or less guaranteed for that. But, yep, as we talk about that, we have also with the Dark Ritual, Vortix in a position where he can actually get a lot of mana, just sacrificing a couple of these skeletons over time. Also, in this case, nearly level 3 for him, so slightly ahead, and is also sending out a couple of ghouls to potentially even solo creep, and that's exactly what he does. So taking down those small apprentice wizards here will more or less guarantee him level 3, and he's actually going for the surround! Tries to go for the surround, Xlord breaks through, but barely. as we're seeing that little attack happen, but there's the level 3 right now. Death Knight is getting zoned out a bit, but boy, that surround would have just been the absolute dream for him. Ghoul makes it out. Nice micro also from Xlord. Same time, the Lich puts the Cloak of Shadows to some good use here. Has in the inventory also now the Gloves of Haste. That is definitely going to help him. Vortix on 29 supply against 24 supply for Xlord. Both of them still with quite a bit of resources here. But it's really the experience that matters right now. And the early level 3 for the Lich is a huge deal. That's already a level 2 Nova that he now has. And he starts to put the pressure onto the Death Knight again. And the more he can keep that up, the more difficult it is for Xlord to just get those experience points to go to level 3 himself. Has Fiends in play right now and is going to play around those. But at the same time, we're having Vortix now with 34 supply against 29. In a position where he gets more ghouls into the mix and sends them cross-map. Both of the players have, of course, already reached tier 2 and are now heading into the tech into Black Citadel. We have the Death Knight coming in as the second hero. Lich, of course, as hero number 2 for Xlord. In comes the Slaughterhouse and also the tech into the Black Citadel. But that earlier Nova, that really strong Nova that he's going to be able to rely on is going to make a huge difference in the late game. So off we go. Nice setup for game number 1. I like it. I mean, having an Undead mirror here in the semi-final guarantees us at least one Undead in the grand final. Blade is playing currently against Cash in the other semi-final. Both of them are currently taking place here, which will be interesting to say the least, because it also means that they are apparently on map 3, which means that there is a chance that Cash doesn't even make it into the grand final. Think about that for a moment. You finally take down Happy, you're the one that kills the king, and then you don't even make it in the grand final. That would be very disappointing for Cash. Of course, taking Happy... I mean, honestly, if you take Happy down, you should be instant qualified as the number 2 seed in the playoffs. That's pretty much where we are these days. There's a reason why people were memeing and saying it's pretty much the Happy Cup at this point. But creeping goes on. Renegade Wizard's taken down, and as an item, the Boots of Elven Skin. A little bit more creeping on the right side. With the Lich on level 3, there's obviously not really a lot of need for him to get any additional experience right now. Getting the Death Knight onto level 2 and 3, way more important, which is exactly what he's currently playing for. Death Knight at this point, just trying to get as much experience as he possibly can, whereas we're still seeing the Lich jerking around here. Keep in mind he doesn't have a town portal. Doesn't have a town portal, doesn't have boots, doesn't have pretty much nothing. No Staff of Teleportation either. So it needs to be very, very careful. Stays still in range of the Death Knight, so when the shit hits the fan, he can still come in and help out here. But yeah. Yeah, that's a creep that he's willing to take, so he's not really worried too much about this. Drops the Nova right away, so even if his opponent comes in and tries to creep check, he still has most of the stuff here. Also has the Belt of Giant Strength. That's a nice HP boost. But here comes Xlord. Xlord is moving in, still trailing behind a bit, and the town portal gets used immediately. Tries to help also the ghouls out, but the Lich comes in from Xlord, gets the Nova connected and kills at least one of them. Dark Ranger now is the third hero. Yep, and there we go. All the way up towards the top, though. That's where we're currently looking at Vortix with 40 supply. And Xlord is sitting at 43. Yeah, pretty much just trying to get a couple of units sniped of each other the entire time. And it's all about the experience on the main heroes now. With the tier 3 tech completed on both sides, the Orb of Corruption is now in place, so that Lich is starting to fire away pretty nastily. And they're taking down the rock golems. The same happens on the other side of the map. When it comes to the items, a quick pass over, as we in this case actually got a potion of invulnerability for him. Vortix right now with 875 hit points on the Death Knight. So pretty nice boost for him, thanks to that Belt of Giant Strength that he found.
A player's forces are under attack.
A little bit more creeping over to the top left. But there's the Dark Ranger now also for Vortix. So we have a little bit of a different setup for the two of them, of course. Xlord by now is sitting on 46 supply against Vortix with 48, so it is a mirror match and they're still incredibly close on this. We don't have any Triple Fiend upgrades just yet for either one of these players. And of course the entire attempt from both, not only from Vortix but from Xlord as well, to just get extra experience on the second and third hero by leaving the first hero a little bit out of harm's way. Actually, in this case, Vortix has started to shift things slightly because he already has that Death Knight on level 3. So he's definitely a little bit ahead of Xlord when it comes to his hero levels. If he can get that level 4 Lich to level 5, that would be insane. But even with level 4, having the Dark Ritual on level 2 is just fantastic for him. It's a huge advantage over his opponent. Xlord didn't even go into Dark Ritual. As the Lich comes in as the second hero, he actually went straight into the Frost Armor instead, which definitely helps against those ghouls at the front. But having the additional mana for Vortix's Lich is going to produce Nova after Nova. And that's exactly what's happening right now. One Nova in, and that is immediately another Crypt Fiend down. Vortix at 45 supply, Xlord at 43. And there's, of course, the Dark Rangers the entire time just casting one silence after another, keeping those spells at a minimum. Vortix is already on the retreat here. 42 supply for him. And some of his fiends are actually caught off a bit, but there's another Death Coil. So all good in the hood still. Spanish player still doing fine here. Xlord is immediately focusing on creeping again. He knows that he's behind in experience and he needs to get that Lich to level 3 and wants to, of course, also have that Dark Ranger getting a bit more experience as well. But guess what? Vortix is back to business. You don't shake off the Spanish Inquisition this easily. Attacks are in, and that's another Crypt Fiend down. Nicely done, and that Lich is still not level 3. The Nova just doesn't have the same punch at this point. And he's starting to lose some ground here. Vortix is at 50 supply now, and Xlord is down to 44. He's trying to come back into this, but also up at the top, there's one Acolyte. He could go for an expansion here. He's definitely thinking about it, as this little skirmish down at the bottom of the map is still ongoing. And he's actually going for the Lich! Potion of Invulnerability could be cast, but didn't. Instead, he waited for the coil and played it that way. Destroyer is in, Crypt Fiends, no upgrades yet. But as I said, there's an expansion and he's going for it. He haunts the gold mine. He's keeping the aggression up against Xlord. That's definitely distracting the German Undead player quite a bit. Can't really do a whole lot here. Resources, of course, that Xlord has were invested elsewhere, which means that he has the advantage now on the upgrades. He has +2 attack upgrades. That's something that Vortix couldn't afford. He's only on +1 here. And Xlord is actually starting to sneak towards the top. Yep, and that's a cancel on the base. That's a cancel right there. Oh, or is it? He didn't see it yet. He didn't see any blight because it wasn't completely summoned yet. And as we are seeing Vortix coming in from behind, they're trying to go for the aggression. Immediate web against the Destroyer, but the Crypt Fiends of Xlord are dying once again, and he's making the play. One down, the second one nearly falling, but Xlord saved with the Death Coil. The Lich at the same time hits level 3 for Xlord. 49 supply for him. Vortix is on 45, losing a little bit more than his opponent. The +1 attack upgrade, definitely a small advantage now for the Undead player from Germany, but Vortix is also countering in kind with another Nova towards the Fiend and takes it down quickly. Another one falling, coil saving the day all over the place. 41 supply for Vortix, and at the same time Xlord is down to 41 himself. Both of them dead even in supply. But again, it's all about the heroes at this point. And the heroes that we're seeing for Vortix are actually fantastic here. That level 4 Lich is just getting so much mana here and can just use one Nova after another. Once again, the silence, of course, coming through. Vortix by now on 39 supply. Xlord on 43, producing a couple of reinforcements here. The problem is the expansion that we now have on the side of Vortix. If he gets that completely saturated, that second income is going to be an absolutely deadly blow to Xlord, who's now at 40 supply. Vortix at 41, and the income is going to matter. Up here, only one Acolyte in, and he doesn't produce any at this point. He's just trying to get himself a couple of additional experience points, and finally we're seeing Acolytes being produced. And if Xlord is not able to take this down quickly, then he's going to be in trouble, and he knows it too. So already we have now 4.5 the levels on the Lich. Still no level 4 on the first hero for Xlord. But he will have the Dark Ranger on level 3 soon, and that is definitely a bit of a game changer. And we're also on top of this see Banshees now. So Xlord definitely has a tech advantage over his opponent. He definitely does. But the problem is, the longer this goes now, the better Vortix position is when it comes to unit production. Xlord on 45 supply. He's trying to break through. 46 for Vortix at this point. Upgrades. 2-0 attack upgrades for Vortix. Xlord does have the exact same amount here. But those AMS from the Banshees, they are making a huge difference right now. And Vortix is starting to lose a little bit of ground. Gets body blocked on the Lich even by his own Crypt Fiend. And now the Death Knight is trying to force that even more. And that's a huge problem. And Nova against the Death Knight would help. And he gets it. And moves away. 48 supply for Xlord, 44 for Vortix, and the expansion is there, but ghouls have already started to take the acolytes down one after another. Great move by Xlord. So far, Vortix couldn't really capitalize on it, and it's of course a huge investment to be made here. Once again, the attacks are coming through, and acolytes are built again. That's more gold that he has to invest, that he can't invest into units, and the tech that we're seeing from Xlord is a huge difference right now. The Banshees with the adept level are casting one AMS after another, and they're just putting... The Vortix is being put to the wall here. He's at 51 supply, but can he actually hold on to the expansion? That's the question. 49 supply for Xlord. He's not all that far behind, and he has the better tech right now, but the levels that we're seeing for the Spanish Undead player are just absolutely incredible here. If he hits the level 5 with the Lich, it would be the dream. The Death Knight himself is nearly on level 4, but Xlord is starting to catch up. Destroyers are in again. A little bit of an attack attempt here with another coil already coming through against the Fiend that was just focused by Vortix a second ago, but he's shifting targets, trying to take the Banshees down, and one of them already eliminated, but the silence is again there, as Vortix is just using the Death Ranger at the same time as we're seeing it for his opponent. But there it is. Vortix loses. The Dark Ranger loses the position, types GG, and leaves the game as Xlord is victorious in game 1 of the best of 3 series. GG. Well played. Game number 2. Yep, the best of 3 series, ladies and gentlemen. It continues. Yeah, overlay is a little bit wrong here, but I'm already adjusting. So obviously Xlord is the one in the lead right now against Vortix after the victory on map number 1. Last Refuge is map number 2. And it was a pretty sweet Undead versus Undead. Actually, exactly the kind of mirror that you want to see. Bit of a different opening from both players. Vortix with the expansion. But Xlord reacted really well to it. And those Banshees definitely made the difference then at the end of the game. But it was close. If Xlord doesn't send over those ghouls initially to attack the economy, and Vortix can benefit a little bit more from having a second base, then it's a totally different ballgame. And I think Vortix would have taken it there. So, I gotta say, this was a pretty impressive performance by both players, but Xlord is definitely gaining a few points here. And has the lead again. I mean, he played an incredible tournament, and I think honestly every single tournament that I've casted so far in the Ryzing Cup, he made it at least to the semi-final. And it's pretty impressive to just see him in that spot, but the same also goes for Vortix, who's just doing exceptionally well here. So now in game number 2 of this best of 3 series, we have the Death Knight being built on both sides. So Vortix actually decided to go for the exact same opening and doesn't really play with that Lich first any longer. Fiends are obviously going to be a big focus now on both sides here from the players. But it should be actually a really entertaining series one way or another. And after that we're going to head into the grand final and crown a new champion, since Happy is already out. It's difficult to believe, I understand, but he actually lost. So, well, let's see how that's going to work out for them. Yeah, it's actually, it's always like weird. For me, it's quite nostalgic. After casting WarCraft 3 initially, of course, for 8 years, and then moving to StarCraft 2, moving to Heroes of the Storm, now being back at WarCraft 3 is kind of incredible, and or casting it as one of the 2 games that I currently commentate. And then having a lot of the players that I want to say pretty much grew up with, and that also were there just at the beginning of esports in Europe in particular. It's kind of sweet as well.
A player's
it comes
forces are under
with
attack.
a small regret though, and that is that unfortunately the company that we grew up with is not really where it was in the past anymore. Soon TM, which once stood for Blizzard Quality, just doesn't mean the same thing anymore these days. And well, if the WarCraft refunded launch has shown one thing, then it is that unfortunately the same level of quality is not quite there anymore. Hopes and dreams die last, so I always have the hopes that Blizzard will find back to its roots and focus also a bit more on the competitive sides, more than they have in previous months and years. But right now it's definitely not quite what made, well, casters like me cast 3 Blizzard games, and players like Xlord and Vortix do the same thing. So there's a lot of loyalty there that I think Blizzard is losing these days, and it's honestly a shame and makes me a bit sad. But Nonetheless, it's kind of awesome to have these two players go up against each other in a game that is as old as this one.
Player's forces
And I'm
are
sure
under attack.
at least with time, some of those bugs will be removed and the game will become a bit better there. But right now I'm very curious to explore what's happening in this series. Who's going to be able to get the lead here from those two? Well, the lead we already know. let's rephrase that. If we're going to see a third game out of all of this, that's going to be an interesting one. So obviously with two Death Knights, we have just creeping going on for the two of them. We have a replenishment potion, which in theory will allow Xlord to be a little bit more aggressive just in general, tank a bit more damage on the Death Knight, and then use the replenishment potion to bring himself back to full HP and mana. But with this now, we have more picks taken down. I always imagine this is the money pick from Heroes of the Storm, and some players just tame it and then ride around on it, and others, of course, just simply take it down for the Rod of Necromancy. There's always a little bit of a bittersweet move whenever we see that happen. But now that we see the Ogre Mages being attacked on both sides, we have, in terms of items, for Xlord, the Ring of Protection being grabbed, and down towards the bottom right of the map. After we've already seen Sentry Wards for Vortix, we have now also Ring of Protection +3 and a Circlet of Nobility, so both of it right there. It's gonna be interesting to see if those Sentry Wards make the difference. Sentry Wards is a really weird item. It's generally speaking just amazing, and it can really decide if you win or lose the game. And at the same time, sometimes just the game moves away from that spot and you don't really get a lot of value out of it. But having that vision is obviously just a dream. If you know the creep patterns of your opponent, if you know where the army is positioned, you can maybe set up a creep check, you can avoid creep checks, so it's pretty great. This time we have Anaconda, Blizzard's dad joke on, I was about to say 2 legs, but she doesn't have any, so there's that. Talking about dad jokes. But now we have also the pressure that obviously Anna brings with her. So the Naga Sea Witch is in play, and that means that we're going to get the frost shots fired against the Death Knight to put him under pressure. Level 3 already for Vortix, and he has also a lot of experience already on that Naga, on that second hero. So he does actually fairly well when it comes to his creep pattern. Xlord decides in favor of the Lich. We have on both sides now the tag into the Black Citadel, but our little skirmish down here still continues. With Anna having a little bit of a problem because she is very popular right now. She is really popular, not only with the opponent, but also with the entire creeps from that camp. In comes the Lich. And the aggression is there. In an ideal world, of course. Eventually, you want to have also boots on that Naga to put even more pressure up. And that Death Knight had a very nice lockdown against the Fiend here with a good surround. The problem is, if you are that low on HP, you're going to suffer quite a bit on this. And especially Xlord is going to have quite some fun with that replenishment potion. That is definitely going to help him a lot. Right now, on the other hand, Xlord with 30 supply, Vortix on 30 himself, but that Lich is coming in. The problem for Vortix is if that Lich is actually getting close enough to the Death Knight to drop a Nova, then he's in deep trouble. So Anna slithering away already, and off we go. At this point, the Lich comes in, Vortix sees it, he's like, okay, I'm out of here. Was nice knowing you, we can talk later, but yeah, we're out for now. But I think this Fiend is not going to make it. The body blocks are already too strong. There's the Nova. Second coil comes through those, so that helps. And he actually is able to save it. Nice. Didn't expect that. So yeah, is able to save it. And had enough mana for another coil, so that played a huge role in this too. Down here, already the tag into the Black Citadel, of course, as mentioned previously. We have the statues now in, and they continue where they left off on the last map. They're just going in for the all-out aggression here, trying to fight for every single creep. Nice surround by Vortix again. I mean, he had some incredible surrounds throughout this entire tournament so far. There's the Potion of Greater Healing for him. Some of them don't really do a whole lot for him because he's in a spot where he can't capitalize on it. Because some of the heroes or units that close the surround are just too low in HP. But it's just insane to see him close one surround after another. And if you get caught off guard by one of them, then you are in trouble. There's the Orb of Corruption now for Xlord's second hero. But we have, again, the better levels for Vortix. He already has level 2 for the Naga. Xlord is catching up on that, no doubt about it. But still, it's a slight lead that we have for the Spanish player that might just give him the edge to maybe win this map and force a third one. I wouldn't mind. Those two going up against each other is an absolute pleasure to watch so far. At this point, the Lich with the Claws of Attack +6. Yeah, Vortix gets the Potion of Greater Healing, and I was just about to say, you're playing a very dangerous game, my friend. But he is able to keep the hero in play, and of course he's on the chase now. Having the Naga Sea Witch in play allows him to do exactly that. Nearly gets the Fiend, but not quite. But he is trying to get the surround against the Death Knight again. But this time it doesn't really work. Yeah, this time it was a bit too much. Death Knight, of course, also with his own Unholy Aura, but some of those creeps get still taken by Vortix now. Xlord is at 42 supply, Vortix is slightly ahead with 44. There's not really a big difference between them. But we have a third hero in play now for both players, Dark Ranger and Lich. So there's a lot more control around the Dark Ranger and the Lich with all these slows that come in, and of course the AoE that also gets pushed out. But the Dark Ranger, coming in from the wrong side, but getting the Nova in. Yeah, he needs a coil, and he gets the Town Portal instead. The silence is there, nicely played. Xlord forces the TP, but he was dangerously close to losing his Death Knight, or, well, losing is probably the wrong way to talk about it, since he's still at the Town Portal, being forced to a TP himself. But Xlord has now a slight edge. That Town Portal was not bought back by Vortix, which means that if he is in a bad spot again, he is going to be in trouble. He bought himself a Potion of Healing and also a Mana Potion, so he's looking for the fight again, and he's already moving in. But Xlord is coming in and gets Khadgar's Pipe off inside. Holy shit. He sneaks the big one and gets the Brilliance Aura of the Archmage. That is great for him. Together with the statues, he's going to have a mad amount of mana in every single fight that they engage into. He's going to be in full mana for pretty much every single battle that they fight from here on out. So this is a great position for Xlord. Great item for him. Fantastic one. One of the best that he could possibly have gotten there. But at the same time, he is still behind in experience. And that is going to play, a role. That's going to matter. So in goes the Dark Ranger. Invisible, by the way. I like that. The Dark Ranger is already sneaking around. It's pretty much... Oh! And, well, we have a Sentry Ward. The Dark Ranger comes in and says, like, okay, maybe not. So Xlord figures that he has a bit of a legal map hack on the map here with this. But if Vortix actually sniffed that out, that would be nice for him. The problem is that he doesn't have another charge left. Oh, that could be a dangerous spot. Yeah, if you could go on here, that's a problem. Orgalord on level 7, he wants to take it down, but Xlord is there. Vortix goes for it. Vortix goes for it, Vortix takes it, and what did he get? Vortix, oh my god, yeah, Brilliance Aura on one side and the other guy gets an Unholy Aura. Not really a good look for Vortix right now. That is only gold, nothing else. But he's trying to turn it around against the Dark Ranger. The Death Coil prevents a kill. Vortix is on 49 supply. Xlord on the exact same amount of supply himself. Upgrades, +1 attack upgrades for the Spanish player, and +1 for the German. More camps are now taken. Lich is actually starting to close in on level 3 now. And the Lich actually also has now the Wand of the Wind. So we're not only looking at Khadgar's Pipe of Insight, he has the Wand of the Wind as well. He has fantastic items over here. There's no town portals left anymore, by the way. Down here, when we're looking towards the third hero, we actually get healing wards for him. Okay, so at this point, healing wards are in. Has, of course, his own Orb of Corruption that makes the focus fire just so much more effective. Vortix is at this point in a situation where he has the Naga on 3, the Lich on 2. It's pretty much the same levels that we're seeing from Xlord right now. The initial advantage that we had from Vortix is more or less gone. Down at the bottom of the map, we see the expansion coming through again. So once more, Vortix is trying to go for the early expansion. He did that on the last map. So he tried the same strategy on map number 1, and it didn't really work out because Xlord reacted immediately. He scouted it early and sent Goose over to harass the Acolytes. Now we have level 4 for the Death Knight. Tons of mana, of course, for him as well. A Potion of Invulnerability. Lesser invulnerability here for him. And, well, there's the Alaria's Flute of Accuracy. Deflöter. Alright, good item for him. The ranged heroes are going to be very happy about that, and so will be the Fiends. The other side now, up to the top left. What are we going to get for him? Level 3 would be fantastic, and he gets the parry up of Vitality. But of course, Vortix is also starting to creep the exact same spot. They're pretty much creeping the map empty. There's not going to be a lot left for them. But having having the True Shot aura is actually kind of nice right now. That's +4 on the Crypt Fiends, +8 on the Lich. That's a decent boost on the damage. Ring of Regeneration, Death Knight is going to be very happy about that. Any kind of focus on him is now going to be a lot less likely to do lasting damage. Vortix is at 60 supply. Xlord currently still moving across the map at 57 supply, so very similar on it. 2-1 upgrades. 1 armor upgrade, 2 attack upgrades. And, well, Vortix has the 2 attack upgrades, but he's still shy of the armor upgrade that Xlord is controlling. There's scouting everywhere. Okay. Hero levels, pretty much identical. 4-3-3 on both sides. Skeletons down here in the base. Just double checking what's happening. Of course, there needs to be a bit of micro on Vortix side just to make sure that none of the acolytes actually die to them. None of them should, but a couple of them are low. It interrupts at least some of the... Honestly, has he sent any over to the expansion? I don't think so. I don't think he knows about this yet. He might assume it, but I don't think he knows that this is actually there. So Vortix, as the game continues, is going to have a mad advantage over Xlord. It's all just a matter of time. Every time you go for an expansion, you have an initial investment that you have to make. And as the game continues, that investment pays off. So if your opponent gives you time, you're in a great spot. But Xlord makes the exact same play that he did in the previous game. He goes straight in for Banshees with AMS. Now, Vortix does the same thing, but he's a little bit later on the attack because of the expansion now as well. But he has the fight, and the more time Vortix has, the better his position is going to be. So the attacks are coming in as the two players are going toe-to-toe here. But right now, Vortix is at 64 supply, and Xlord is at 67. 2 upgrades for Xlord, 2-1 for Vortix, so he's still slightly behind with this. Fiends are getting focused, Wand of the Wind is being used, and, well, Banshees are slowly starting to fall. Vortix is losing quite a bit of ground here, and him not being able to use his Death Knight is a huge part of why that happens. Having the aura obviously adds more. There's more damage on Vortix side thanks to the True Shot aura, but we also have the increased mana regeneration on the side of Vortix, on the side of Xlord, that is actually worth quite a bit. The statues are a little bit zoned out, and Vortix is actually in trouble. Vortix is down to 50 supply. Xlord is cleaning house here, 65 supply at this point. And there's the GG. He loses way too much and can't do anything anymore. Xlord with a clean 2-0 victory over his undead opponent. He takes the win and advances to the grand final of the Ryzing Cup number 10.